Good morning, good morning. I have some Indian friends. We worked with the illegal immigrant kids that were coming into the U.S. And my Indian friends, him and his wife, they worked there with me. And I couldn't believe it. He said, Great Spirit, one in Great Spirit, one with me, one with others, one with the land, one with the animals. I thought, okay, explain that. And the way he explained it is he put me and him as one. No, we're the same. We're one. I can't explain it like he did. Nobody knows like the Indian. And I tried to separate myself a bit. He's a married man. He said, no, we're one. So I'm telling you, just give me the peace pipe. I might say that a few times. I don't smoke. I always voted for marijuana to be free because in Kansas, where my grandparent lived, there was, they used to pick it out. The old people used to pick the weed out of the ditch, crumble it up, put it in a bowl, and light a match for, what was it, incense in the home. I didn't smoke it. I don't care about that marijuana stuff. It makes the state good money now. But I am telling you, I didn't want to see young men go to jail for weed that grew in the ditch in Kansas. So that has nothing to do with all of this. It's just that quite often I'm going to say, give me the peace pipe, because that's the American Indian. That's our friends, and they know one with the Great Spirit. So there you go. So speaking of Kansas, I went to Kansas, and Grandma said, I went to Kansas, and somebody said, how's this story possible? So I did the numbers, and my age, her age, it's probably happened in the 1870s somewhere. But out of Grandma's second bedroom came a woman on a cane, and Grandma says, that's little one, and she's 100 years old. And I thought, whoa. How can you be called little one? You are very big boned. You're very tall. You're taller than me, girl. And of course, very thin, because she's 100 years old. She's thin. Her skin was leathered up and wrinkled. That happens. I want to live to be 100 years old. So anyway, she sat down and she said to me, she was telling me about her, and she said, my family, when I was just a little girl, my family, we got in a covered wagon, and we had to go to Kansas. We were traveling in a covered wagon, but we were by ourselves. There was no other wagon with us. It was just our family. And we're in a covered wagon, and we're going across the U.S., and she had heard about the Indian people. And she said, the Indians, they circled our wagon, and we're just family, and they circled our wagon. She said, we were so afraid. And then she got the biggest smile on her face, and she said, they're the nicest people we have ever met, ever. She said, we just stopped, and they stopped, and we'll all sit down. The smile on her face, little one. They called her little one. And nobody called her anything else. Who knows her name? From that day when those Indians were kind and generous and loving and one with this wagon of family, they called her little one. And I met her 100 years old. and she was still called Little One. Thank you, Indian family. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your kindness. You put an impression on an old woman that left it with me. And as we were talking, she said, this was the cane she walked out of the room with. A big woman. When she walked out, I thought it was a little small for her, but she walked out with this, and she said, here, I want you to have my cane. It's redwood. And I said, no, sister, I can't take your cane. I just saw you walk out of the room with that cane. I'm not taking it. You wouldn't believe what happened. All of a sudden, I saw a smile on this woman's face, and all the wrinkles disappeared, and I saw in the spirit, I saw through the old leather skin, and I saw a soft, gentle smile with the black curly hair appearing, a great big smile. I was looking at her. I don't know, God came on her, and I saw that beautiful, childish, loving face, and I said, I'd be happy to take your redwood cane. I'm so honored. Did she know? Did God reveal to her? Did the Great Spirit reveal to her that I'd be telling the world about her today? I don't know what she was like. Little One. That's what the Indians called her. Thank you. Now, Indians. Oh, I want to tell you something about the Indians. They never owned the land. The Indians said they used to sit around the fireplace and they used to talk about how the land belonged to the Great Spirit. While they lived, they said, we're just journeying through on the Great Spirit's land. We're borrowing it, so we want to be one with it. We want to give it to the Great Spirit. It is a land that doesn't belong to us, so we don't buy and sell the land. And I went, ooh. Because it reminded me of Scripture. What is it? Leviticus 25, 23, and 24. The land shall not be sold permanently, for the land is mine, said God, Great Spirit. For you are strangers and sojourners with me, said the Great Spirit. And in all the land of your possessions you shall grant redemption of the land. And something just came to my mind. I'm driving down the road in high country, Colorado, and I see about 5 buffalo coming to, they're in a man's field, and they're coming to a 4-prong barbed wire fence. So I pulled my car over, I got out, and I'm watching the first big old bull that comes by. He just bent his head down and he's walking at a certain gait, and he just put his foot through the first rung. So the barbed wire's here, and then there's 3 more up here. And he didn't even change his gait. He just went like this, the same gait. Fring! All 3 barbed wires, bing, rolled back to the post that they were connected to. That's a strong animal. I promptly got back in my car. It was amazing. And then I'm telling you, Indian men, for you guys to be able with a simple arrow to go out down a buffalo. By the way, I've eaten buffalo. It's the best meat. It's delicious. I'd like a buffalo coat. Yeah, that'd be cool. Family, my family, we have Iroquois woman in our family. That Iroquois is the New York. They started in New York, and then they were migrated to Illinois. My dad's dad and my second grandson, I sent a picture of you and that man, and you look just alike. Well, he's the one that married the Iroquois woman. And I think they have different rules, tribe to tribe. In the Iroquois tribe, the women, once a brave took her as his wife, the teepee, the children, the food, and the blankets inside all belonged to the woman. So if the young brave wanted to say goodbye, he's the one who left the tribe. Go find yourself another tribe. The woman belongs here on with us. So the other thing the Iroquois did back in the 70s, maybe I saw, 1970s, I saw where the Iroquois young braves were building the high-risers in New York, and they're up on those little metal planks, and they're walking around on them, and oh my God, America needs to thank you. We thank you for building our high-rises back in the 60s and 70s in New York. Thank you. You're brave men. Brave. You deal with a buffalo, you climb high-risers, and you don't own the land. Oh, by the way, my grandpa brought this Iroquois woman, her name was Miss Ring. He brought her into Kansas, and he married her. But you won't find it in the registries. You won't find it in a church where a pastor married him, because back then the only good Indian, they said, was a dead Indian. And no, he couldn't find anybody that would do legal papers and marry him. But he was with that lovely Miss Ring till the day she died. And part of the story is they had a son who they sent away to college. Educated. This boy wanted education. They sent him away to college. He came home from college to visit over the holidays on a train. And then he was going back on the train to college. Well, authorities knocked on their door. Great grandpa and his Iroquois wife. And they said, your son is dead. Now, I don't know what they did or did not tell the family, but the family was always told the relatives, we know one thing about our son's death. If he would not have been on that train, he'd have still been alive. My dad taught me the difference between pride, which is a sin, and proud to be American Indian, proud to be connected with the Great Spirit, proud to be a loving nation. Proud is different than pride. I used to ask my grandma, Grandma, are you Indian? You're Indian, huh? She would freeze in place. She'd have a soft, gentle spirit to come upon her. And she would smile. So beautiful. And she didn't say a word. She didn't say yes. She didn't say no. Okay, so years later, I said to her again, Grandma, you're Indian, aren't you? She froze. She bowed her head in submission, and she smiled. A beautiful smile. She didn't say yes, and she didn't say no. She was taught as a little girl, don't tell them you're Indian. These fools out here say the only good Indian is a dead Indian. Don't tell them you're Indian. Love my family. Oh, just before my dad was born, she picked a mole on her face, and it actually got infected, and the infection went in the body, and then that's how she died. So she died rather young. Miss Ring, I'm so proud to be part Indian. Grandma Mary, you can say it with proud. I'm Indian. I'm part of my Indian brothers, my sisters. Thank you, God. I'm part Indian. Iroquois. Okay, so, did you know that the white people came up to the United States on a boat, and it was during the winter, and they were starving, and they weren't prepared, and they didn't know how. They hadn't lived outside like that before. They didn't know. They were in a place of dying. And the Indians came in with their peace pipe, and I do mean peace, and they gave them turkey. They kept them alive through the winter. Can you believe it, Indian brothers? The Great Spirit come upon you, because on that boat they had prayed for this land to be a Christian nation. Oh, we'll talk about that later. But I will tell you this. What those pilgrims didn't know was this nation was already owned by the Great Spirit. God, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Great Spirit. And the Indians were a peaceful bunch of people. And if you don't want to celebrate Thanksgiving, we'll find out why. I kind of understand it. American Indians, did you know they saved the white man and the Jewish man in World War II? Have you ever heard of code talkers? The code talkers. What was happening? We were losing the war. We had each section of men, American men that were out there at war. They had radios to communicate one from another. And the enemy decoded and heard the message on these radios. They knew where the Americans are at, where they were going to attack next. We were losing the war. And somebody remembered the Indians with the Great Spirit. They got a hold of the Navajo tribe. My daddy told me, I don't know about now, but when I was growing up, he told me the Indian language is not a written language. Each tribe had a little bit different language, as I understand. But they got the World War II, American soldiers, the leaders, they got a hold of the Navajo. They grabbed up a bunch of Navajo people. They took them over to the war. They say, you sit on the radio, you talk your language. It won the war. American Indians, did anyone ever thank you for winning World War II? Did anybody give you honor and give you medals and give you recognition for saving the American white man and the Jewish man? I want to do it today. Thank you for your faith in the Great Spirit. Thank you for saving and winning World War II. Thank you. Code talkers. Yeah, they do talk code. All right. January 18, 1958, at a rally somewhere, what was it, Maxton, North Carolina? I'm not sure about that, but the Lumbee tribe, the American Lumbee tribe. Okay, we had the Ku Klux Klan in there, and they were threatening massacre. These are bloodthirsty men, white men that hated the black. They were thirsty men for death, war, cutthroat. They brought their little crosses. Oh, yes, they did. They were burning crosses. And they happened to be on Indian, where close to where the Indian lived. The women said, don't get involved in this. Do you know what happened? The Lumbee tribe. Yes, oh yes, the Lumbee tribe. They showed up to the land where the Ku Klux Klan was at. I think it was 1,000 strong. Yeah, about 1,000 strong Indians. They showed up and they called it the Battle of Hayes Pond. They had a little chat. They brought out their peace pipe. They did. They had a little chat with the Ku Klux Klan. And 1,000 Indian men told them exactly who knows what. But I'll tell you what, one of the Ku Klux Klan, boom, shot a light out, total darkness. And the Ku Klux Klan, ran like little rabbits. And the Life magazine back then said what could have been a massacre, what would have been a massacre, turned out to be a miracle. A miracle. When you got the Great Spirit, when you live the Great Spirit, miracles follow. Thank you. Thank you. And then let's talk about that. I don't know. I got scripture here. Let me read it. Purge me with hyssop, O God, O Great Spirit, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be cleaner than the river that flows. Let me hear joy and gladness. Let the bones that you have broken rejoice. And blot out all my iniquities. Create in me, oh God, Great Spirit, a clean heart. And renew a right spirit within me. And renew a right spirit within me. Indian man, get off. Ask the Great Spirit to help you, but get off of the drugs, the booze, the curse, and the sorrow that white man brought and said, here's your antidote. That's not an antidote. You have the Great Spirit. Reconnect, rejoin. You don't know the power and the love God has for you. Already we know that you saved Thanksgiving, the Lumbee tribe. Life magazine said what would have been a massacre turned out to be a miracle. I'm here to thank you. I'm here to thank the American brothers. And my friends that I used to work with, they said, we don't know anything before 1492. They don't know anything before. And I have a picture here. It says, Homeland Security, fighting terrorism since 1492. Okay, it wasn't the American men fighting terrorism. It was the Indian men that was fighting terrorism since 1492. I believe that's when Columbus come over on the boat. And I know that my Indian friends said, we don't know anything about the tribe before 1492 because everything went haywire. And he used to say, the white man rapes our women and our daughters. Oh my God. wonder what the people sitting on the boat praying to God. The Great Spirit, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Different countries have different words, but it's the same God. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Spirit. The Great Spirit. What would those pilgrims that were on that boat that prayed for this land to be owned by the Great Spirit, the God of Abraham, what would they say? Let me tell you something about the Indians before 1492. This was 44 BC, before Christ. Cleopatra, she liked to fool around a little, sexually. Whoop. She had a son by Julius Caesar, a man she was not married to, and she had that son would have been next in line when Julius Caesar died for the kingship. And Cleopatra really liked that idea. She already had plans for her and that son to rule the country. European, I don't know, you have to look yourself on the country. So that's what she thought. When her son was 17 and Julius Caesar died, her 17-year-old son was executed. Now she had 3 other children, a daughter with a twin, Anthony Helios, and the younger brother, Ptolemy, Philadelphus. And she gathered up the daughter after her oldest son was executed. She grabbed hold of the daughter and she set that daughter up good for her whole life, and Mama was with her the whole life, and the daughter did very well. And the other 2 sons that she had disappeared from the historic records without exclamation. Guess where they showed up at? America. That's right. There's an old man, an older gentleman, that on his land in Illinois, why do you think we have Little Egypt in Illinois? There's 3 towns, Cairo, which right now is about 13,000 people, Thebes, 200, and Karnak, around 300. These are Egypt names, and southern Illinois is called Little Egypt. Well, there was a man that was out on his land in Illinois, and he unearthed evidence, no doubt. They had the seals, they had the names, they had the artifacts, and he did not call the Smithsonian Institute for them to come categorize it, have it disappear. This man still has it in his possession. And like the local yoko, he likes you, he show you. But Cleopatra's 2 sons ended up in America, and they did quite well. Why? Because of the Indians. And the Lumbee tribe that is there, do you know they don't get paid money from the government? Because they got white blood, they got European blood. They got DNA in them. And it's not like 100% Indian. So you invited Cleopatra's sons into America who were scared little rabbits and running for their life. And you welcomed them in and you loved them. And Lumbee tribe, thank you. Now, this is close to the Cahokia Mounds in Illinois. And I do know that they have done archaeology back east over the American Indians. And they say that the American Indians were not prepared for the white men and their guns and their Hollowitz and their cannons. The American Indian had weapons, but they weren't weapons for war. They were weapons for animals. Now, that doesn't mean that if you have somebody coming in, killing your women and your children and your old people, doesn't mean you can't be fierce warriors. But pre-American white men coming over on the boats, you were people of peace. You were one in spirit. You loved the Great Spirit. Let's move over. Put on the fire. Give me the peace pipe. I'm serious. I think the peace pipe. Oh, I don't know. Peaceful lot of Indians. God bless you. God thank you. There's something here in the desert. When the Spaniards come up and the American white man built their railroad and killed out all the Indians and killed the buffalo and ran them off the land, what happened when the people came in, they said, this is a desert. Arizona is desert. How did the Indian grow their food in a desert? They had corn, they had bread, they had good food, good meat. And the foreigners thought, how was that possible in the desert? I'll tell you how it is. When you trust the Great Spirit, the God of God, the Lord of Lords, when you trust Him, He's your provider. He's your provision. You astounded the Adam tribe. You astounded the white men and the Mexican men because you had food aplenty in the middle of the dry desert. And that's a message for the whole world. Anything you give to God, He'll take it. I knew a man, Mexican man here, he had children, he got divorced. He promised God, if he ever got another wife, that he'd be faithful to her and he'd love her. And I met those children that were going to Bible study because that man gave his wife and his family to God. He was still kind of a rascal. But anything you give to God, you put His name on it, the Great Spirit, the Lord of Lords. God will take it and it'll prosper because He loves you. He loves us. He loves the American Indian. White men say, thank you. Thank you for letting the Pilgrims live. Thank you for Cleopatra's sons. You let them live. Thank you for saving World War II. Thank you for the peace pipe. Okay, I love it. And, yeah, Indians don't like DNA. They don't want to know they got white man in their blood. Okay. Oh, well, I'm not okay. My mommy had a second husband. She married a man that was a cowboy. He was in the rodeo circuit. He went around the country, and his claim to fame was bronc riding. He'd get on a horse, and they'd open the gate. He had to stay on that horse. And after Mama married him, when he still lived, he'd lost a little girl in that bus and train accident way back when. And it did rearrange him, but he took his antidote, alcohol. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Before he died, he asked Christ into his heart because he wanted to see his little girl that died on that bus, his only child he ever had. And it was an adopted child. But that's Jack Mitchell. My mama married him. And I walked into his house, and I'm just a kid. I'm still in school, and I'm a kid. And my daddy always said, you're Indian, you're Indian, you're Indian. I don't know. I'm a white girl, but my dad was raised, you're Indian. You can do anything you want, Daddy used to say, but don't you get caught. You're Indian. I don't know. Well, it's Daddy. So I walked into Mom's house, and she's got her new husband there. And I saw something on the wall, and it was a bow and arrow. And you could tell, I had seen some bow and arrows that men had made, you know, by hand. They'd carved them out and had a good string and nice arrows. And they did have the stone, or it was a kind of a rock that they had made. And I looked at that bow and arrow, and it was rudimentary. You could tell that some kid, it was the first bow and arrow he'd ever carved out, but it was his bow and arrow. So it was owned by some kid. And then I started screaming. I saw this beautiful black hair, about this long. I don't know how they kept it so pristine. It was beautiful. It was shiny black. It was almost like it had diamonds in it, but it had a scalp to it. And I started screaming and crying all at the same time. How could you have this on your wall? I'm Indian. I was but a child, scalped. I never saw that again. He took it off the wall, but he told me that they had put Indian people on government land about 170 miles south of Denver, and he just lived outside of Denver, not too far. And they promised them protection on government land. And the army, government army, went down about dawn. And it's called the Sand Creek Massacre. There were about 700 Southern Cheyenne and Arapaho people down there at the Sand Creek. And there happened to be 5 men from 5 tribes, Indian men. And the military went in with guns and howitzers. And the Indians were running, and they were killing and raping them, and the old people ran down to the Sand Creek, and they were burying themselves in the sand, hoping to live. And the white man took the howitzers and shot into the sand and killed them. I'm not okay. That was November 29, 1864. I never had to see that bow and arrow again. That was a little kid. And let me tell you something that's just gonna flip you out, America the Great. The person who led that massacre on innocent early morning Indians, just living in their tribe, 5 chiefs were going to pass the peace pipe because they were on government land. They were protected. The man in charge of bringing the soldiers in on government land was Colonel John M. Shivington, a Methodist preacher. He led an unprovoked surprise attack on a peaceful camp using small arms and howitzer fire. You can look it up on Google, howitzer. Howitzer, Howitzer, to kill as many Cheyenne and Arapaho as possible. A Methodist preacher was the one who led them down to kill those Indians. I'm going to tell you something, Indian brother. You who have the Great Spirit, I honor you. I thank you. I adore you. You passed the peace pipe. You lived God. And our minister, pastor, Methodist minister, pastor, led the army down there to kill, steal, rape, scalp. By the way, Indians didn't scalp first. It was the Frenchmen. Frenchmen came into this land and the Frenchmen scalped. That little boy had beautiful hair. Thank you for living. You know what? The Great Spirit had a son. Yes, he did. And that son, why would a Great Spirit have a son? Hey, God says be and it becomes. And that son, let me tell you something, my Indian friend. I don't know why. My daddy says fork tongue. And every time my daddy said fork tongue, he always used the hand language. I don't know what it all meant, but I never saw him say fork tongue without using the hand language. He said, those are lying. Fork tongue is a lying tongue. You want to be a pastor that teaches Christ? So God himself, my Indian friend, the Great Spirit, had a son because he said become and it became, it be. But pre-flood, if you'll read Enoch, pre-flood, men were black. That garden dirt was rich and black and beautiful. I'm going to tell you, my Indian friends, the truth. The only white boy on Noah's Ark was Noah. God himself, the Great Spirit, who had a son who was beat, enslaved, bloodied up, hung on a cross, and died. His skin was like yours. He's not a white man, God. Forked tongue. Jesus Christ is not a white man, God. Forked tongue. Jesus Christ looked dark and lovely, like the American Indian. Black, beautiful, long hair. He's not the white man God. He's the Savior. And that's for you to ask, talk with, let him reveal things to you. I'm not okay. Okay. So, a total of 350. I'm going to say it wrong. You'll have to teach me later. Minikoho Lakota people, many of them women and children, were killed by nearly 500 U.S. soldiers at the site December 29, 1890, after some of the native bodies froze to the ground for several days. A military-led burial party scraped them up and dumped them in a big grave. Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Seminole. Andrew Jackson was responsible for the policy that rounded up 60,000 of the 5 civilized tribes between 1830 and 1850, with additional thousands of, and we have something called Trail of Tears. They displaced you. There's a Latin church in, I'm not sure where it is. I've done this study. There was a Latin church that did the American people throughout America, from Alaska all the way down to the tip. So it's both North and South America. They had a count of 44 million people. Let me see where that's at. I've already bypassed it. They had a count of 44 million people, Indians. 44 million. And they had over 4 million counted dead in our America, from New York to California. So let me tell you something. It wasn't a small amount of people the Christian people were annihilating for progress, for railroad, for roads, for God, for the American way. My Bible says, and toward the end of time, they'll kill you thinking it's God's will. Thank you, Indian people, for saving the Americans, for doing World War II, the Lumbee tribe. There's other times. I mean, thank you. Anyway, Trail of Tears, 60,000. Why don't you let somebody come into America, round up 60,000 white men, and tell them they've got to leave the country? What do you think would happen? Thank you, my Indian people, for pulling out the peace pipe. You know what? I want you to reiterate yourself with the Great Spirit. Get off the Americans' drugs, booze, sorrow. Come through it. America, stand up. Let's speak the truth. We're killers. And we think we're doing it for God. We're sorry. I'm here to tell you we're sorry. We love you. You're wonderful people because you live like God. Oh. I knew a Sue, and then she came up to the little town in Colorado, Kremlin. I was going to teach her how to drive. So she was wild. She's a wild girl. And put her in the car, and then I went up to the fairgrounds. It's all flat. She has lots of room to make whatever mistake she needs, because I taught a lot of people how to drive, but this girl was wild. So I put her in the driver's seat. We were going to teach her how to drive backwards, right? Just back up. So I told her, if you want to go that way, you have to do the wheel this way. It's a little bit different than going, right down the road. It's different. So I told her, I said, I'm going to have you put it in reverse, and then I want you to practice how to turn backwards. You have to look over your shoulder. So she put it in reverse, and she punched the gas. She floored the gas, and she was going like this, and the whole car was rocking. Whoa, girl, whoa, whoa. My Indian lovely friends, break. We're broke. Okay, so to teach her how to back up, I had to actually get in front of the car. I want you right now, while I'm at the window, put it in neutral, and don't touch that stick again. It's in neutral. Now I'm going to get in front of the car, and I'm going to push it backwards. And I want you to practice. They came for Christmas one year over to the house. That was the year they came for Christmas. And the husband that she was with, and it's a small town, you don't have a lot of stuff to buy. So what happened was I had bought my husband all these warm clothes and jeans and shirts, and I just went in there and I took his name off and put her husband's name on, and his name off, put her husband's name on, took his name off and put her husband's name on. And when he saw his clothes go to that guy, he was gracious. He really was, right in front of him. Oh my God, my clothes, whoa. And we had a wonderful Christmas, and she told me something. She was a Sioux Indian that left the reservation because she didn't want to be the next medicine man on the tribe. And she told me that the Sioux still sit around the coffee table and laugh about Custer's last stand. No, I'm not kidding. All right, so let's talk about Custer's last stand. Oh my God. The Lakota, the Cheyenne, the Arapaho still sit at the coffee table. Give me the peace pipe. We're going to laugh about Custer's last stand. I'm sorry, Custer. You gave one for him. I mean it. You're good. God must love you. And that was in June 25, 1886. George Armstrong Custer divided his group into three. Cheyenne and Sioux warriors Custer divided his men into three groups. And we had 2,000 Indian warriors go in, Sitting Bull, Little Bighorn River in Montana. And give me the peace pipe. No, you can have the peace pipe. Just give me the coffee. I'm going through it right now. Give me a cup of coffee. Custer's little stand, Little Bighorn, Montana. Go ahead. Have a little enjoyment, dudes. You deserve it. And then December 29, 1890, Wounded Knee. Massacre. Lakota Sioux, several hundred buried in a mass grave. It closed the resistance of the Native American. Restore to me the joy of your salvation and uphold me with a willing spirit. What I want the Indian people to do, and it's not an easy thing to do, I want you to forgive us. I want you to reiterate with the Great Spirit who heals the heart. I don't want you to be in chains with Americans' drugs and booze and sorrow. It is time for America to stand up and apologize. We're sorry. God forgive us. God forgive us. We're sorry. Indian men, reiterate yourself with the Great Spirit. That Great Spirit did have a son named Jesus. You are so loved. And then what we did is we forced your children in American schools. Yeah, your children are in America, they have to go to school. My Indian friends said, whoa, they had to start schools on the reservation. They don't want their children fork-tongued. Columbus didn't discover America. The Indians don't celebrate Thanksgiving. I mean, give your children in school the Great Spirit, the one with the Spirit, the one with the people, the one with the family, the one, my God. Wounded knee. I have a wounded knee. Oh dear God, forgive the forked tongue. Forgive Indian people, rejoin yourself with the Great Spirit so you don't have to go to hell and see the minister, the Methodist minister, Pastor John Covington, who came and killed your women and your children and scalped them. Dear God, I call him God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and my Indian friends call him the Great Spirit. God, forgive our nation. Forgive us for being a forked tongue. Forgive us for killing men, women, and children for progress. Restore my Indian brothers to the Great Spirit and remove drugs and booze and sorrow off of them. Renew the spirit, Lord. Give me a renewed spirit. Give me joy. God, forgive us. Indian brothers, thank you. You're marvelous warriors. You're marvelous men and women. Your women are beautiful. Your dark skin, it's beautiful. Your black, lovely hair. Your brown eyes that say, come, join us. We'll give you the peace pipe. Be one with us, one with God. We love you, I love you. My family loves you. Rejoin with the Great Spirit, I pray.